Micron Technology, a semiconductor focused in the memory space, just announced some great news for Nvidia stock investors. For those not familiar, Micron provides a crucial component for some of Nvidia's next generation AI chips. Welcome. For those not familiar, my name is Jose Najarro, and I spend way too much time reading about semiconductors and AI. But thanks to that, my education and work experience, I do believe I have created the number one semiconductor podcast for investors. So let's get started with today's episode.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for their subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so if we start off with price action right now, Nvidia is sitting at $790. Super excited as this is my number one position. Year to date, the stock is up roughly 64%. Now, Micron Technology is actually no slacker. Today, the stock is up roughly 3.2%, and year to date, the stock is up roughly 12.14%. We can see from its kind of 52-week low, the stock is up over 70%. So while it's not an Nvidia in forms of growth, we still see some amazing returns to Micron investors. Now, at the intro of this video, I mentioned how Micron had announced some great news for Nvidia stock investors. And we can see on February 26, Micron commences volume production of industry-leading HBM3E solutions to accelerate the growth of AI. And the great thing, for those that are not familiar, the HBM3E, which is high bandwidth memory 3E solution, is expected to go in the Nvidia H200 Tensor Core GPUs, which will begin shipping in the second calendar quarter of 2024. So we do see that to some extent, maybe Nvidia was waiting on Micron to kind of finally release the H200, but this HBM3E is some really good news in the advancements of its overall AI chip. One of the main reasons I do believe this component is going to be very crucial for Nvidia is because this HBM3E leads the industry with 30% lower power consumption compared to competitive offerings. And right now, we do know that data centers to some extent are power limited, power gated, where right now we are seeing a lot of data centers, data center providers, and anybody that's dealing in the AI space trying to find ways to reduce their total cost of ownership. One of those heavy cost of ownerships is the cooling of their components. And one of the highest heating components in the servers are usually the GPUs. So by finding ways to reduce the power consumption, it does reduce the overall total cost of ownership. And right now, with the overall AI market, this is definitely going to be a nice amount of growth opportunity for Micron, as we do see a lot of AI chips coming not only from semiconductor players like Nvidia and competitors, but also from big tech players in the cloud serving space. Now, before we go any further, if you guys are enjoying the episode, make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. We're so close to 40,000 subs, so thank you guys for the support. If you want to support a little bit more, make sure to subscribe using my link at fool.com/Jose. Now, let's get started with the rest of the episode. And while they just released this Micron 24 gigs of HBM3E, they are already working on their next sample or their next iteration of this, which is already sampling and superior energy efficiency compared to competitive solutions in March of 2024. Now, one thing that I found very, very interesting about that is right after Micron mentioned this competitive solution and this next generation of higher memory and better power efficiency, Micron finished off by saying that they are a sponsor of NVIDIA's GTC event. For those not familiar with NVIDIA's GTC event, this is happening on March 17th of this year. And this is where NVIDIA releases all its next generation products, especially focused in the AI market. So I don't think it's a coincidence that Micron kind of mentioned that right after their sampling of this competitive solution. What I expect to happen is when NVIDIA releases the H200, they're going to say, hey, look, the H200 came with better memory, with higher memory, with better power efficiency. But more importantly, we're just working on the next iteration, most likely the Blackwell, which is going to have even more memory than the H200, and it's going to be even more power efficient. And that's overall going to continue to drive good growth rate for Nvidia's data center revenue. Now, again, one of the biggest things about this AI market is the reduction of total cost of ownership. And one of the best ways to do that is reduced energy. And here we can see from a previous chart that Nvidia has shared about the H200 that overall, compared to the H100, the H200 total cost of ownership is 50% less, and the energy use is 50% less. And the energy use is also 50% less. And this is overall because one, you're having a stronger chip, which has better performance, and you're also having the reduction of electricity power. So a data center company would need far less H200s than H100s. So we can even continue to see the reduction of total cost of ownership. And this is what's going to continue to drive this kind of growth in Nvidia's data center revenue as they continue to innovate at such a fast pace. And here we can see, hey, look, the H100 came out in 2023, the H200 coming out in 2024, which is going to give some amazing results compared to the H100. But in 2024, we're also going to see the B100, which is going to be the Blackwell, and that's what we're going to most likely hear during the GTC event. All right, so next I just want to take a closer look at some competitors. AMD Instinct MI300X accelerator, we can see right now that the overall power usage is about 750 watts at peak typical power board. Now, if we take a closer look at the H100 is up to 700 configurable. And if we take a closer look at the H200, it's also going to be about 700 watts. So this could be another bullish case, as some users might say, hey, look, if we're using these GPUs at peak performance, we can get better performance in forms of all types of solutions using the H200 versus AMD's MI300X. So things like that outside of just price. And this is another thing that I do believe many investors kind of always overthrow, that when you look at these solutions, you might say, hey, Jose, the MI300 is way cheaper than AMD's H200 or H100. But now when you start to now when you start to integrate and think of, hey, how much less power are you using? How much better performance are you using? How many less chips do you need compared to maybe the MI300X? That starts to add up. So it's not just about the initial upfront cost. It's also about the cost that we'll do in the long term of having these data centers for multiple years. Now, I want to take a closer look at some PE ratios for both NVIDIA and just share my overall thoughts in valuations, and for Micron as well. So right now, NVIDIA's forward 1-year PE ratio is sitting at roughly 27.07. I mean, we can see if this AI market is right, if this company continues to grow this heavy revenue, if margins continue to be intact, Nvidia is still fairly valued. For me, maybe because of my cost bias and how I entered such a entry at such a great entry level, I would say right now it's very small dollar cost averaging in my opinion, right? Because there are some risk. This company is not priced to absolute perfection, but is to somewhat almost there. Now, if we take a closer look at Micron's PE ratio is all over the map. PE ratio right now is sitting at 51.58. Forward is going to 6.7. Forward 1 year is going to 14.4. So Micron is one that's all over the map because of the commodity prices of memory and the overall kind of fluctuations to the cyclicality of the overall semiconductor market and the consumer space. So if you're looking to enter at the memory business, again, this is more of a dollar cost averaging. We've seen the kind of stock run up a nice amount in the past year or so, but there's definitely a lot more tailwinds, in my opinion, than headwinds for Micron compared to Nvidia. So definitely not the worst investment. One I don't buy because I just normally don't get into the memory market, but we definitely are seeing some great excitement news coming out for Micron Technology. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.